Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every life when the excuses must die so the future can live. A moment when you stop explaining why you couldn't and start declaring why you will. A moment when you look in the mirror and say, no more delays, no more detours, no more excuses. Because the truth is this, your life is not being held back by a lack of talent, opportunity, or intelligence. It is being held back by permission you keep giving to fear, doubt, and comfort. And today, that permission must be revoked. Excuses are polite lies we tell ourselves to stay where we are. They sound reasonable, they sound responsible, but they slowly steal your destiny. Every time you say, not now, maybe later, or I'm not ready, you are negotiating with a future that requires boldness. You don't become who you are called to be by waiting until you feel confident. Confidence is not the prerequisite for action. Action is the producer of confidence. You move first, you believe second, you grow along the way. Believing in yourself does not mean you never feel afraid. It means you refuse to let fear make decisions for you. It means you stand up even when your knees are shaking. It means you keep walking even when the road is unclear. Stop asking for permission to be powerful. Stop waiting for validation to be valuable. Stop needing applause to take action. The calling on your life does not require consensus. It requires commitment. Some of you have been rehearsing your limitations so long that you forgot your potential. You remember every failure but ignore every victory. You magnify your mistakes and minimize your growth. But hear this clearly, you are not your past attempts. You are your future decisions. Belief is not a feeling. Belief is a discipline. It is a choice you make every morning to show up again, try again, stand again. Even when the evidence says it's hard, even when the results are slow, even when no one is clapping yet. The most dangerous thing you can do is underestimate yourself and call it humility. You were not created to shrink. You were not designed to blend in. You were not formed to live a small, quiet, apologetic life. You were built with intention, power, and capacity. And yes, you will fail sometimes. You will stumble. You will get tired. But failure is not proof that you should stop. It is proof that you are in motion. You don't quit because it's hard. You adjust because it matters. You cannot keep blaming yesterday for why tomorrow hasn't changed. You cannot keep pointing at people who hurt you while refusing to heal. You cannot keep waiting for perfect conditions when progress is made in imperfect moments. At some point, you must take full responsibility for the life you want, not in shame, but in power. Responsibility is not a burden, it is freedom. Because once you own it, you can change it. There is something inside you that is stronger than every excuse you've ever made. Something that has survived disappointment, rejection, and delay. Something that keeps breathing even when hope feels thin. Something is your purpose calling you forward. Excuses delay destiny, not because destiny is fragile, because excuses are powerful enough to keep you standing still while life is calling you forward. Destiny does not shout. It does not chase. It waits for movement. And every excuse you make becomes a pause button on a future that is ready to unfold. Most people don't lose their destiny in one dramatic failure. They lose it slowly, one reasonable excuse at a time. An excuse is often disguised as logic. It sounds intelligent, it sounds mature, it sounds responsible. No, it's not the right time. I need to be more prepared. I'll start when things settle down. But beneath those statements is not wisdom. It is fear wearing professional clothing. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of being seen trying and not succeeding. So instead of confronting fear, the mind builds excuses to protect the ego. While the ego feels safe, destiny waits. Destiny requires momentum. It responds to action, not intention. You can intend all day, plan all night, and visualize for years, but if you never move, destiny remains theoretical. Excuses interrupt momentum. They create a habit of delay. Delay slowly turns into a lifestyle. What was once a temporary pause becomes permanent procrastination. You don't mean to quit, you just keep postponing. And postponement is one of the quietest forms of quitting. The danger of excuses is not just that they stop you from starting, it is that they convince you that stopping is reasonable. They make stagnation feel justified. You begin to believe that waiting is wisdom, that silence is strategy, that inaction is maturity. But growth has never come from waiting for perfect conditions. Every meaningful step in life is taken in imperfect moments with incomplete information and uncertain outcomes. Destiny is built while you are still figuring things out, not after everything is figured out. Excuses also distort your self-image. Over time, you begin to see yourself not as someone who acts, but as someone who explains. You become skilled at storytelling, explaining why you didn't apply, why you didn't try, why you didn't continue, why it wasn't your fault. And the more you explain, the less you execute. Eventually, your explanations become louder than your actions, and your potential becomes buried under a history of almost. One of the most damaging excuses is the belief that you are waiting for confidence. Confidence does not arrive before action, it is born from action. Waiting to feel ready is like waiting for strength before going to the gym. Strength comes from the process, not before it. Destiny does not reward readiness, it rewards willingness. Willingness to try while unsure, to move while afraid, to begin while imperfect. Every excuse that says, "I'm not ready," delays the very process that would make you ready. Excuses delay destiny by keeping you emotionally comfortable but spiritually stagnant. Comfort feels good in the moment, but it quietly drains your future. Growth requires discomfort. Expansion requires tension. Transformation requires you to leave familiar ground. Excuses keep you attached to what you know, even when what you know is no longer serving who you are becoming. Destiny often lies just beyond the place you are making excuses to stay. Another subtle excuse is blaming timing. It's just not the right season. While timing matters, it is often used as a shield to avoid risk. The truth is, there will never be a season where fear disappears, pressure vanishes, and uncertainty resolves itself. Life does not clear the stage for you to perform. You step onto the stage while the noise is still there. Destiny aligns with courage, not convenience. Excuses also delay destiny by keeping you focused on the past. You replay old failures, past disappointments, previous losses, and you use them as evidence that trying again is dangerous. But destiny is not interested in your past data. It is responding to your present decisions. Past can inform you, but it cannot lead you. When excuses pull you backward, they steal the energy needed to move forward. There is a heavy cost to delayed destiny. It shows up as frustration, restlessness, and a quiet sense of dissatisfaction. You may be busy, but you are unfulfilled. You may be active, but you are not aligned. Something inside you knows there is more, and that knowledge becomes painful when ignored. Excuses do not remove the calling. They only increase the tension between who you are and who you were meant to become. Destiny also suffers when excuses become inherited. You start borrowing reasons from your environment, family limitations, financial background, cultural expectations, past labels. While circumstances are real, they are not final. Destiny is not denied by obstacles, it is shaped by response. History is filled with people who had fewer resources but greater resolve. Excuses focus on what is missing. Destiny responds to what remains. At some point, excuses must be confronted with truth. The truth is not that you can't, it's that you're afraid to try again. Truth is not that you don't have time, it's that you haven't made it a priority. Truth is not that you missed your chance, it's that you are resisting a new one. Truth is uncomfortable, but it is liberating. Once excuses are exposed, they lose their power. Releasing excuses is not about harsh self-judgment. It is about honest self-leadership. It is about saying, I take responsibility for my next step. Responsibility is not blame, it is authority. The moment you own your choices, you regain control of your direction. Destiny accelerates when excuses end because movement begins. Excuses delay destiny, but courage unlocks it. Courage does not eliminate fear, it overrides it. Courage is choosing progress over protection, growth over comfort, obedience over convenience. The life you want is not waiting for you to feel fearless. It is waiting for you to feel determined. When excuses end, clarity begins, energy returns, direction sharpens. You stop negotiating with your potential and start cooperating with it. Destiny does not require perfection, only participation. And the moment you stop explaining why you can't is the moment your fear starts responding to why you will. Destiny has been patient with you. It has waited through your doubts, your delays, your detours. But patience should not be mistaken for permission to stay stuck. There is a time to reflect, and there is a time to move. If you are reading this, the time to move has already arrived. Excuses delay destiny, but only until you decide they no longer have authority. When you choose action over explanation, belief over comfort, courage over fear, destiny does not hesitate. It meets you in motion. Confidence is not something you find waiting in the wings of life. It is not a gift that arrives neatly wrapped once circumstances are perfect. Confidence is not a feeling that lands in your lap when fear decides to take a vacation. No, confidence is forged in the heat of action. It is produced in the laboratory of experience, in the pressure of challenge, in the moment when doubt says, stop, and you say, I will continue. Waiting will not make you ready. Waiting will not give you courage. Waiting will not make your steps steady. Waiting will only prolong the distance between who you are and who you were created to become. Too many of us sit in the theater of life with our scripts in hand, rehearsing lines that we have never performed, dreaming roles we have never claimed, and hoping for a standing ovation before we even step onto the stage. We tell ourselves, I'll start when I feel ready. I'll begin when I'm certain. I'll take the leap when I am confident. And yet, readiness is a mirage. Certainty is an illusion. Confidence is not a prerequisite, it is a byproduct. You will never feel fully ready, but you must act anyway. The act of beginning, of moving, of stepping forward is the alchemy that turns fear into courage, hesitation into momentum, and uncertainty into conviction. Think about the people who inspire you, the people you admire, the innovators, the leaders, the creators, warriors of life. They did not wait until every condition was perfect. They did not pause until the world was in their favor. They started before they felt ready. They tried when the path was unclear. They failed, yes, but they failed forward. Every misstep, every stumble, every awkward beginning was the forge in which their confidence was built. Confidence does not grow in comfort zones. Confidence does not blossom in stillness. Confidence grows when you do the thing you fear again and again until fear becomes familiar and your faith in yourself becomes unshakable. Waiting is the enemy of confidence. Waiting whispers lies to the mind. Waiting tells you that delay is strategic, that hesitation is wisdom, inaction is patience. But these are not truths. They are excuses dressed as virtue. Every day you wait is a day you surrender your power to indecision. Every day you delay is a day you give the world permission to move past you while you remain frozen in the shadows of what if. You will never gain confidence sitting quietly on the sidelines, observing the victories of others and dreaming of the day when you might finally feel ready. The victories you watch are the ones you could have claimed if you had acted when you were afraid. Confidence is built in the crucible of doing, not dreaming. It is developed when you take a step and then another, even when the path is uncertain. It is developed when you put yourself in situations where success is not guaranteed and still push forward. It is built when you speak, when your voice shakes. You lead when your knees tremble, when you create, when your hands are unsure. Every act of courage, no matter how small, deposits strength into the bank of your self-belief. Each effort you make builds proof for your mind and soul that you are capable, that you are worthy, that you can handle more than you thought possible. Waiting gives the illusion of preparation, but preparation alone cannot replace experience. You can study, you can plan, you can rehearse, and you can visualize every scenario in the world, but until you step into the reality of your goals, confidence remains theoretical. Confidence is an earned reality, not a borrowed feeling. It is not cultivated in books alone, not developed in seminars, inherited from others' encouragement. It is earned by your own feet moving on the ground, by your own hands doing the work, by your own heart choosing courage in the face of fear. The first time a child rides a bike without training wheels, they are terrified. Their legs wobble, their heart pounds, and their mind screams, "I'm not ready." But the first time they push off even trembling, they begin to build a muscle of confidence that no amount of caution, no amount of waiting could ever create. The second time, their balance improves. The third time, their speed increases. Soon they are gliding confident, fearless. That is how confidence is made, not by staring at the bike and imagining perfect rides, but by taking action despite the fear. In life, challenges are no different. The jobs we hesitate to apply for, the conversations we avoid, the projects we postpone, the steps of faith we refuse to take, all of these are opportunities for confidence to grow. And the truth is, confidence is not granted to those who avoid the challenge. It is granted to those who face it repeatedly. The more you act, proof you give yourself that you are capable. The more proof you gather, the stronger your belief in yourself becomes. And that belief carries forward, compounding with every new experience until it becomes unshakable. Another key truth is this action does not need perfection to build confidence. Too often we wait for perfect conditions, for the ideal timing, for the complete plan, and we never start. Confidence is not built on perfection. It is built on progress. Imperfect attempts teach lessons, reveal weaknesses, strengthen resilience, and ultimately build mastery. Each time you act, you become a little stronger, a little bolder, a little more certain of your ability to handle what comes next. Waiting, by contrast, teaches nothing. It leaves your fear untested and your potential unrealized. Confidence is also contagious. The more you act, the more others notice, and the more their encouragement fuels your growth. But more importantly, the most critical witness to your courage is yourself. Each action is a testimony to your capabilities. Each effort is a declaration to your mind, I am capable. I can handle more than I believed. Rise, and over time, those declarations solidify into unshakable self-assurance. Waiting may feel safe, but it is a trap. It is comfort disguised as prudence. It is delay disguised as preparation. It is inactivity disguised as strategy. True confidence, however, demands movement. It demands the willingness to step into uncertainty, to risk failure, to face fear head-on, and to keep moving even when the outcome is unknown. Confidence is not built in stillness, it is built in motion. So if you are waiting, stop. Stop waiting for confidence to arrive. Stop waiting for fear to disappear. Stop waiting for the perfect moment that may never come. Begin. Begin where you are. Begin with what you have. Begin with imperfect steps and shaky hands. Begin even if you fail. Begin because in the act of beginning, confidence begins. With every step you take, it grows. With every action, it strengthens. With every effort, it expands. Confidence is built through action, not waiting. Every time you choose to act despite fear, despite uncertainty, despite discomfort, you deposit evidence into the bank of your self-belief. You prove to yourself in undeniable ways that you are capable of more than you imagined. Waiting will never produce this proof. Only action will. And when you finally look back, you will see that every ounce of courage you mustered, every step you took, every decision to move forward, built a foundation of confidence so strong that nothing in life can shake it. Take the step, speak the word, make the call. Launch the project, pursue the opportunity, do the thing that scares you. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready, now. Because confidence is not waiting. It is walking forward while fear shouts, stop. And each step you take is a victory, a building block, testimony that proves without a doubt confidence is not found, it is forged. That is how you grow. That is how you finally become unshakable. Not by waiting, by hesitating, not by dreaming, but by moving. By doing, by acting, by stepping into life with boldness, even when your knees are trembling, even when your hands shake, even when your heart races. Confidence is built through action, not waiting. And today is your day to begin. Fear is normal. It is part of being alive. It is part of being human. It is part of the process of stepping into something greater than yourself. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is not a flaw. Fear is not a sign that you are weak. Fear is a signal. It is a messenger that alerts you to the presence of risk, to the opportunity for growth, and to the edge of your comfort zone. Every great person who has ever accomplished something extraordinary has felt fear. Every leader, every innovator, every trailblazer has wrestled with the tremor of uncertainty. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain stagnant is not the absence of fear, it is who they allow to lead fear or faith. Fear is normal. It must not lead. Fear is designed to protect, but protection is not purpose. Fear will always tell you what you cannot do. It will whisper lies in the middle of your dreams. It will exaggerate obstacles, magnify doubts, and paint the future as darker than it truly is. Fear will sit on your shoulder like a relentless shadow telling you stop. Don't try. Don't risk. Don't hope. Don't believe. And if you let it take the lead, it will do exactly that. It will stop your hands, freeze your feet, and mute your voice. It will convince you to live a life half lived, to shrink when you were meant to grow, to settle when you were meant to soar. Fear is not meant to lead. You are. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to move forward despite fear. Faith is not a denial of danger. It is a declaration that your vision, your purpose, and your calling are greater than your fear. You cannot allow fear to dictate your destiny because fear is temporary, but the choices you make in the presence of fear define the trajectory of your life. Fear is a signal. Action is the response. Fear points the way. Courage walks the path. Every time you step into fear, you gain territory. Every time you face what scares you, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your mind told you. And here is the truth. Fear will never completely disappear. The first time you take a leap of faith, fear will be there. The first time you pursue a new opportunity, fear will be there. The first time you stand up, speak out, or step into the unknown, fear will be there. But the more you act, the more you confront it, the smaller it becomes in proportion to your courage. Fear diminishes in the presence of action. Fear loses its voice when your determination speaks louder. Fear is normal, but it must not lead because fear is often dishonest. It will show you the worst case scenario and convince you that it is inevitable. It will highlight every potential mistake and suggest that inaction is the safer choice. Fear will remind you of past failures, exaggerate current limitations, predict future catastrophe. But fear is only a possibility, not a certainty. Fear cannot dictate reality. You are the one with the power to decide, to act, to move forward. Fear can make noise, but it cannot make decisions for you unless you hand it that authority. Think of fear as a storm. You see the clouds gathering, the wind picking up, the rain threatening to fall. You can either hide inside your home and wait for it to pass, or you can build your shelter, take your umbrella, and step outside with intentionality. Fear will scream for you to remain inside, to do nothing, to wait for conditions to be perfect. But life rarely waits. Life rarely gives you ideal weather. The brave do not wait for calm. They navigate the storm. They carry their dreams through the rain, their vision through the clouds, their faith through the wind. That is how progress happens. That is how destiny unfolds. That is how fear loses its power. Fear is normal, but it must not lead, because when you let fear take charge, you hand over your authority. You surrender your power to the doubts in your mind and the opinions of others. You let hesitation, worry, anxiety dictate your schedule, your choices, and your actions. And the cost is always greater than you realize. When fear leads, potential is wasted. Opportunities are missed, and dreams that could have been realized remain just that, dreams. Every excuse you make, every delay you justify, every retreat you allow fear to orchestrate is a step backward from the life you were meant to live. You must understand something vital. Fear is not an instruction manual. Fear is not a compass pointing to your path. Fear is a warning light, not a steering wheel. You do not navigate life by following fear. You navigate life by acknowledging it, assessing it, and then moving forward anyway. Fear can alert you to danger, but it cannot replace discernment. Fear can make you aware of risk, but it cannot replace courage. Fear can whisper in your ear. It cannot silence your calling unless you let it. Every time fear arises, it is a test. It is an invitation to rise above your comfort zone. It is a signal that you are on the verge of something meaningful. The presence of fear often indicates that you are stepping into territory that matters, territory that could transform your life, your family, your community, and even your world. Fear is a marker of potential, a reminder that you are alive, a signal that you are being called to act. When you ignore fear or let it lead, You miss the very moments that are meant to define you. Fear is normal, but it must not lead, because fear is temporary and opportunity is fleeting. The moment you hesitate, the moment you step back, the moment you let fear dictate your next step, someone else moves forward. Does not pause while you debate. Opportunities do not wait until fear feels comfortable. Dreams do not knock twice. Every day that fear leads is a day that your purpose is delayed, a day that your calling waits, a day that your potential is postponed. You must take the reins. You must stand firm. You must step boldly into action even when fear is loudest. The more you face fear, the smaller it becomes in proportion to your faith. Fear loses its grip when your vision is clear, when your purpose is defined, and when your commitment to yourself outweighs your worry. Fear diminishes when your steps are deliberate, your decisions intentional, and your actions courageous. Fear can never overpower a mind and heart that are determined to rise. Fear may knock at your door, but it cannot enter unless you invite it in. You are stronger than your fear, wiser than your doubts, and more capable than your hesitation. Fear is normal, but it must not lead. Fear reminds you of the stakes, but let courage determine the direction. Let fear alert you, but let faith drive you. Let fear shake you. Let action stabilize you. Let fear exist, but do not let it dominate. The life you are meant to live, the calling you are meant to fulfill, the impact you are meant to have, these do not come from standing still. They come from stepping forward. They come from moving despite trembling knees. They come from walking boldly when the voice of doubt is loudest. So today, recognize fear for what it is, a natural response to challenge, a messenger that growth is near. Do not be ashamed of fear. Do not be paralyzed by fear. Do not allow fear to decide your life. Step anyway. Speak anyway. Act anyway. Fear may be present, but it does not lead. You lead. Courage leads. Faith leads. Vision leads. Destiny leads. And as you step forward again and again, facing fear instead of following it, you will discover something remarkable. Fear shrinks in the presence of determination, disappears in the light of faith, and retreats before relentless action. Fear is normal, but it must not lead. And when you embrace this truth, you reclaim your authority, your power, your life. You become the captain of your own soul. You become the master of your destiny. Fear will always exist, but it will never be in charge. You will lead, and your life will move forward with the force of courage, conviction, and relentless determination. Belief is not a momentary surge of emotion. It is not a fleeting rush of hope that lights your spirit for an hour or a day and then disappears. Belief is a discipline. It is a daily choice. It is a commitment that you make to yourself over and over again, even when circumstances scream otherwise, even when results are slow, even when the world around you seems determined to test your faith. To believe in yourself is not a one-time feeling. It is a daily battle, a daily decision, daily investment in your mind, your heart, and your future. Too many people think belief is something you catch like a spark. You see someone succeed, you feel inspired, and you call that belief. But that is not belief, it is emotion. Feelings are temporary. Feelings fluctuate. Real belief, persists when feelings fade. Belief persists when fear rises. Belief persists when challenges multiply. Belief persists when the applause stops, crowd disappears, when no one is watching, and when the results have not yet manifested. Belief is not a spectator sport. It is a discipline you exercise daily, like a muscle that grows stronger with repetition and resistance. When you wake up in the morning, the choice to believe is already before you. You can believe that you are capable, or you can doubt. You can believe that your dreams are valid, or you can let fear dominate your thoughts. You can believe that you will overcome, or you can retreat into excuses. Every morning presents a new battlefield for belief. And here is the truth: if you do not fight for belief daily, doubt will claim victory. Doubt does not sleep. Doubt does not tire. Doubt waits patiently to fill your mind with questions. Can I really do this? Am I really ready? What if I fail again? Belief answers these questions, not once, but repeatedly, day after day, decision after decision. Belief is a practice. It is cultivated by action, by persistence, and by resilience. You strengthen belief each time you choose to move forward despite uncertainty. You reinforce belief each time you take a step toward your dreams, even when the path is unclear. You grow belief every time you refuse to let past failures define your present. Belief is not passive, it is active. It requires effort, it requires repetition. It requires the willingness to return each day to the decision to trust yourself, trust your vision, and trust the process of growth. If belief were only a feeling, it would have disappeared the first time you failed. The first time doors closed on you, the first time people doubted you, first time life did not go as planned, your feeling of belief would have evaporated. But true belief persists in spite of failure. It is not eliminated by difficulty, it is reinforced by it. Each setback, each challenge, each obstacle becomes a training ground for belief. The more you practice believing in the face of resistance, the stronger, more unshakable, and more disciplined your belief becomes. Belief is also a choice in the present, not a prayer for the past or the future. You cannot rely on yesterday's courage to sustain today's challenges. You cannot bank on last week's victories to fuel this week's decisions. You cannot expect tomorrow's promise to carry you through today. Belief must be renewed each morning, each hour, each moment. It is not a one-time declaration. It is a continuous act of alignment between your mind, your intentions, and your actions. You say to yourself, I believe, not just once, but as often as your circumstances try to convince you otherwise. Belief is discipline because the world is relentless in its attempt to shake it. People will doubt you. Life will test you. Circumstances will challenge you. Failures will attempt to define you, but belief, when disciplined, is resilient. It is a shield that protects your mind and heart from the corrosive power of negativity. It is a compass that keeps you moving forward when the terrain is difficult and the path is unclear. Belief disciplines you to trust the process, to honor your purpose, and to take the next step, even when results are invisible, even when applause is absent, and even when your soul is tired. One of the greatest lies that stops people from cultivating belief is the idea that belief is easy. It is not. Belief requires fighting against doubt that has accumulated over years. Belief requires pushing past fear that seems justified. Belief requires ignoring voices that tell you that you are not ready, not capable, or not enough. And yet, belief grows stronger with each act of courage, each choice to act, with each refusal to give in to despair. Like a muscle, it strengthens under resistance. The more you exercise belief, the more natural it becomes. The more habitual it becomes, the more it withstands life's storms. Belief also manifests in the language you use. Words shape the mind. When you speak in certainty, even when your heart is shaking, you reinforce belief. When you declare possibilities, even when circumstances suggest impossibility, you build belief. When you replace self-doubt with self-affirmation, when you replace fear with determination, you replace hesitation with action, you are practicing the discipline of belief. It is not enough to feel it. You must speak it, act it, and live it daily. Belief is further disciplined through gratitude and reflection. Recognizing the small victories, acknowledging progress, celebrating incremental achievements reinforce belief. Even on the hardest days when the outcome is uncertain, when challenges loom large, gratitude reminds you that you are capable. Reflection reminds you of your growth. These practices are not trivial, they are daily rituals that strengthen the foundation of belief. Without them, belief can erode quietly, water seeping through cracks in a foundation. With them, belief becomes a fortress, unshakable in the storms of life. Belief is also contagious. When you exercise it daily, you influence the people around you. When your belief is consistent, it inspires trust and courage in others. Persistent action despite doubt, others see that it is possible. The discipline of belief does not just transform your own life, it radiates outward, creating an environment where faith, courage, and determination are normalized. But it only works if belief is consistent, not intermittent, not temporary. Belief must be a daily practice to impact the world around you. And finally, belief is a daily discipline because life never stops testing it. As long as you have goals, dreams, and a purpose to fulfill, there will always be new obstacles, new setbacks, new reasons to doubt. The moment you treat belief as a one-time feeling, you open the door to uncertainty. The moment you stop practicing it, even for a day, fear and hesitation will creep in and your progress will stall. The choice to believe must be renewed continually. Each morning, each challenge, each decision presents an opportunity to strengthen, refine, and exercise the discipline of belief. Belief is not passive. It is not a wish. It is not a fleeting emotion. Belief is a daily discipline, a daily exercise of the mind, the heart, and the spirit. Belief is cultivated in the practice of action, in the consistency of hope, in the refusal to be defeated by failure, courage to continue when the world says stop. Belief grows when you choose it over doubt, when you trust yourself over fear, and when you persist in the face of uncertainty. Belief is not a one-time feeling. It is the lifelong, daily discipline that determines whether your potential becomes reality or remains unrealized. Renew your commitment to believe in yourself. Speak your belief. Act on your belief. Reflect on your belief. Protect it from doubt. Strengthen it with discipline. Let it guide your decisions. Let it carry you through challenges. Let it transform your setbacks into lessons, your fears into fuel, and your dreams into reality. Belief is a daily discipline, not a one-time feeling, and when you practice it consistently, intentionally, and courageously, nothing can stop you from fulfilling the destiny written for you. Your past does not define your potential. Let me say it again, because someone needs to hear it today. Your past does not define your potential. The mistakes you made, the opportunities you missed, the failures that left scars, they are not the prison walls that keep you from rising. They are not the chains that limit what you are capable of becoming. Your past is a chapter, not the whole book. It is a story you can learn from, a lesson you can embrace, but it is not the final verdict on what you can achieve. Truth is, potential is not measured by what you have done. It is measured by what you can do. And no matter what your history looks like, the future is still unwritten and your potential is still untapped. Far too many people walk around carrying the weight of yesterday like it is a permanent burden. They replay old mistakes in their minds as if repetition could somehow change the past. They relive the moments they wish they could undo. They allow regret to whisper in their ears, telling them, "You are not enough. You've failed before, so you'll fail again. You should have done better. Now it's too late." And when those whispers grow loud, they begin to believe them. They begin to define themselves by their failures. They begin to shrink instead of grow. But that is a lie. That is a deception. Your past is a teacher, not a jailer. Your past may include failure. Failure is not fatal. Failure is not a measure of who you are. It is a measure of what you have tried. Every person who has ever accomplished something meaningful has failed along the way. Every trailblazer, every innovator, every pioneer has fallen, stumbled, and made mistakes. But they refuse to let the past dictate their future. They refuse to let a single misstep define the entirety of their potential. They got up, they tried again, and they pressed forward because they understood that the true measure of a person is not how they fell, but how they rise. Sometimes it is filled with rejection, loss, or disappointment. Sometimes it seems as though every door you knocked on was closed. Every plan you made fell apart. Every person you trusted let you down. And yes, those things matter. They leave marks, they leave lessons, but they do not determine the ceiling of your potential. They do not have the final say in what you can achieve. Your potential is not located in the shadows of yesterday. It is waiting for you in the light of today. And every day you choose to step forward, to take responsibility, to grow, to act, to dream, you activate that potential. The past is often used as an excuse. People say, "I can't do this because of what happened before. I've tried before and it didn't work. I failed, so I shouldn't try again." But here's the truth. The past only has as much power as you give it. The past can be a reference, but it cannot be a rule. It can inform your choices, but it cannot limit your vision. It can teach humility, but it cannot extinguish ambition. You are not defined by the setbacks you've experienced. You are defined by the way you respond to them. You are defined by the courage you show today, by the actions you take now, by the persistence you exercise in the face of challenge. Your potential is not located in your record of mistakes. It is located in your capacity to learn Adapt and grow. Every failure, every misstep, every bad decision contains a lesson, and those lessons are the building blocks of your potential. You cannot erase the past, but you can extract its wisdom. You cannot undo what happened, but you can use it as fuel. Every experience, good or bad, becomes an opportunity to increase your understanding, sharpen your skill, and strengthen your resolve. Your potential is realized not by pretending the past didn't happen, but by using the past as a platform to rise higher than you ever have before. Do not let comparison steal your potential. Many people measure themselves against others and say, "I've missed my chance. I've wasted too much time. I'm behind." But here is the truth. Your timeline is unique. Your journey is yours. Someone else's success does not diminish your potential. Your potential is not limited by the years you have already lived. It is defined by the years you still have to make a difference. Stop living as if your past failures are permanent labels. Stop shrinking in the shadow of other people's accomplishments. Your potential is still unfolding. Your best days are still ahead. Your breakthroughs are still waiting. Sometimes the past feels like a story written in permanent ink. Maybe you've hurt people, been hurt yourself, lost opportunities, or faced circumstances beyond your control. Maybe you carry regrets that weigh heavily on your heart. But listen closely. Your past mistakes do not cancel your future victories. Your past is not a verdict. It is a prologue. What you do today, what you commit to now, what you work for this moment, these define the chapters yet to be written. You can write new chapters. You can create new opportunities. You step into new seasons of success. Potential is built in the present, not in the past. It is cultivated by your action today, not your failures yesterday. The energy you invest in your growth, your discipline, your focus, your courage, and your belief compounds. The momentum you create now overrides the setbacks of yesterday. Every time you act, every time you persevere, every time you refuse to let regret dictate your day, you reclaim power. You remind yourself and the world that your potential is limitless. Your past is often exaggerated in your mind. We replay failures like broken records, magnifying their impact while minimizing our successes. We measure ourselves by our worst moments instead of our victories. We let the mistakes define us instead of letting them refine us. But the truth is, your past does not define your potential. It only teaches you how to reach it. The lessons of yesterday, when used correctly, are the springboard for tomorrow. Every hardship, every rejection, every closed door points you towards strength you didn't know you had, wisdom you didn't know you possessed, opportunities that you haven't yet discovered. So today, make the decision to stop allowing your past to dictate your future. Stop replaying your failures. Stop punishing yourself for mistakes. Stop measuring yourself against the person you used to be or against the person you wished you had been. Your potential is not a reflection of what has already happened. It is a vision of what is possible when you refuse to give up, when you refuse to quit, you refuse to let regret, fear, or doubt hold you back. Your potential is found in your determination, your resilience, your courage, your willingness to rise. Your past may influence your journey, but it does not limit your destination. It may shape your character, but it cannot define your capacity. It may leave scars, but it cannot erase your strength. You may have stumbled, but you can rise. You may have failed, but you can try again. You may have been knocked down, but you can get back up. Potential is not written in the ledger of your past. It is encoded in the power that still resides within you, waiting to be unleashed. Your past does not define your potential. What defines you is what you do with this moment, this choice, this breath, this opportunity. Your potential is activated when you take responsibility for your future, when you stop blaming yesterday, when you stop hiding behind what went wrong, and when you start moving forward with intention, courage, and faith. The past is not a prison. It is a teacher. Your potential is not fixed. It is infinite. And today, right now, you have the power to step into it. Failure is not the end. Failure is not a reflection of who you are. Failure is not a verdict on your worth, your talent, or your intelligence. Failure is evidence, plain and simple evidence, that you tried. It is proof that you made the effort, that you stepped out of your comfort zone, that you risked something, that you dared to move when others would have stayed still. Failure is not a measure of inadequacy. It is a measure of courage. It is the mark of action. It is the footprint left behind by someone who refused to remain passive in the face of opportunity. And yet too many people allow failure to define them. They interpret it as a confirmation that they are not enough, rather than a signal that they are alive, active, and engaged in the process of becoming. No one succeeds without encountering failure. Every single person who has ever achieved greatness has faced moments when the world said, no. When doors closed, when plans crumbled, when the outcome was not what they hoped for. And in those moments, failure became their teacher, their motivator, their mirror. Failure is a necessary part of growth because it exposes gaps, reveals weaknesses, and illuminates lessons that no book, seminar, or mentor can provide. It is not a punishment. It is a signal that you are attempting something meaningful. If you have never failed, it is not because you are perfect. It is because you have never tried anything significant. Failure is evidence of effort. Every time you fall short, stumble, or miss the mark, you have engaged. You have acted. You have risked. You have moved. And movement action is the essential ingredient for growth. Standing still guarantees stagnation. Waiting for perfection guarantees nothing. Hesitation guarantees nothing. But action, even when it results in failure, is the soil in which success is planted. Without effort, there is no progress. Without trying, there is no possibility. And without failure, there is no growth. The danger lies in the stories we tell ourselves about failure. Many people look at a setback and say, I am not good enough. I am not capable, inadequate. And they allow that story to take root. But here is the truth. Failure does not have the power to define you unless you give it that authority. Failure is not your identity. It is a moment, a step, a point along the journey. It is temporary. It is instructive. It is the raw material from which wisdom, resilience, and eventual success are built. Consider this. First time a baby learns to walk, failure is constant. They stumble, fall, crawl, and try again. And yet no one tells that baby that they are inadequate. No one says, you are not capable of walking. The baby simply keeps moving, learning from each attempt, adjusting, improving, eventually walking confidently. Failure is not a sign of deficiency. It is a sign of life. It is evidence that you are attempting something beyond where you are currently capable. Every fall teaches balance. Every misstep teaches coordination. Every stumble teaches adjustment. And the same principle applies to adults. Every failure is a lesson in progress. Every setback is a classroom for growth. Every no is an opportunity to refine your strategy, strengthen your resolve, and clarify your purpose. Failure is evidence that you are engaged in the process of becoming. It is the mark of effort, the testimony that you dared to act. Effort, after all, is more valuable than perfection. Effort is more valuable than ease. Effort is the engine that drives learning, growth, and eventual mastery. And yet, when we measure ourselves solely by results, we misunderstand the nature of progress. Results are the fruit, but effort is the root. Without effort, there is no growth. Without effort, there is no success. Without effort, potential remains unrealized. Failure is simply the sign that you have planted seeds, and the harvest is still coming. The fear of failure is one of the greatest obstacles to success. People avoid taking action because they fear they might fail. They hesitate to speak, create, or pursue opportunities because they are terrified of falling short. But that fear is misplaced. Failure is not the enemy. It is the companion of anyone who seeks to achieve. The absence of failure is often the absence of ambition, the absence of effort, and the absence of courage. When you understand that failure is evidence of effort, your perspective changes. Suddenly, failure is no longer something to avoid. It is something to embrace. Suddenly, failure becomes a teacher rather than a tormentor. Suddenly, failure becomes a milestone, a marker that you are alive, engaged, and moving forward. Every successful person has a history filled with failure. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Michael Jordan missed countless shots before becoming a basketball legend. Oprah Winfrey faced rejection and setbacks before building an empire. All understood this fundamental truth of failure is not an indictment of your ability. It is proof that you are trying. It is proof that you are willing to take risks. It is proof that you have the courage to step into the arena when others stay in the stands. Failure is evidence of effort, not inadequacy, and the sooner you internalize this truth, the sooner you free yourself from the fear that paralyzes your progress. Failure also builds resilience. Every time you fail and choose to continue, your capacity to withstand difficulty grows. Every time you fall and rise again, you build strength. Every time you face disappointment and persist, you expand your endurance. Resilience is not created in moments of ease. It is forged in the fire of failure. Effort, combined with the lessons of failure, produces a spirit that cannot be broken. And that spirit, over time, becomes unstoppable. The evidence of effort transforms into the confidence to act again, the courage to try again, and the wisdom to approach the next challenge more strategically. You must also understand that failure teaches humility and perspective. It reminds you that success is not guaranteed and that effort is required. It reminds you to value persistence over instant gratification. Reminds you that growth is a process, not an event. When you view failure as evidence of effort rather than inadequacy, you begin to appreciate the journey, not just the destination. You learn to celebrate progress, not just perfection. You learn to respect the process, not just the result. You learn to honor the courage it takes to try, regardless of the outcome. The mindset that failure is evidence of effort, not inadequacy, is liberating. It frees you from the tyranny of perfection. It releases you from the fear of making mistakes. It allows you to take action even when outcomes are uncertain. It shifts your focus from judgment to growth, from comparison to personal development, and from avoidance to engagement. Once you embrace this perspective, failure becomes a tool, not a threat, a teacher, not a tormentor, a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. Every time you make an effort, every time you try, every time you step forward despite fear, you are building a record of courage and determination. Each attempt adds to your experience, strengthens your skill, increases your resilience. Failure is merely the feedback that your effort is in motion. It is the report card for trying. It is the evidence that you have dared, risked, and moved. In short, failure is not your enemy. It is your ally on the path to mastery. So today, I challenge you to change the way you see failure. See it for what it really is: proof that you are trying, evidence that you are alive, confirmation that you are engaged in the process of becoming. Do not let failure define you. Do not let it stop you. Do not let it shake your confidence. Let it teach you. Let it guide you. Let it strengthen you. Understand that each misstep is a part of the journey, not the end of the road. Your effort matters more than your temporary setbacks, and the path to success is paved with the evidence of those who tried and failed and tried again. Failure is evidence of effort, not inadequacy. You are not defined by your falls, your mistakes, or your setbacks. You are defined by your willingness to rise, to continue, and to persevere. Keep moving, keep trying, keep believing. The very act of effort is the proof that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. Failure is not a verdict. It is the evidence that you are alive, striving, and destined for greatness. Stop seeking validation before taking action. Stop waiting for someone else to tell you that your idea is good enough, your dream is worth pursuing, your plan is viable. Stop waiting for a nod of approval before you move forward. Too many people live their lives in the shadow of other people's opinions, measuring their worth by how others perceive them instead of by how faithfully they pursue their purpose. But here is the truth. No one can give you permission to live your life. No one can validate your calling. The approval you seek from the outside world cannot replace the courage you need on the inside. Validation is fleeting. Action is permanent. Results are built on action, not applause. Waiting for validation is the enemy of progress. It creates hesitation. It creates doubt. It makes you pause when you were meant to move. You think, they say yes, I'll try. If they approve, I'll step forward. If they support me, I'll risk. But life rarely waits for your permission slip from someone else. Opportunities do not knock when the crowd says it's safe. Destiny does not pause until everyone agrees you're ready. Waiting for validation is waiting for permission that may never come. And in the meantime, your potential sits idle. The need for validation is rooted in fear, the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of rejection. When you let fear dominate, you begin to outsource your confidence. You begin to rely on the opinions of others to decide your value and guide your actions. But here is the hard truth: the people whose approval you seek are not walking in your shoes. They have not been entrusted with your vision. They do not bear your dreams. And even if they support you, external validation can never give you what internal conviction provides: certainty in your purpose, clarity in your steps, and courage to act despite uncertainty. Every time you delay action to wait for validation, you give power to someone else over your life. You hand them the authority to decide whether your dream is worth pursuing, whether your potential is worth expressing, whether your contribution is meaningful. And while you wait for their approval, the world moves on without you. Opportunities pass, time continues, seasons change, destiny waits. Yes, but only for a moment before it turns to those who are willing to act, regardless of who says yes, at the people who have made the biggest impact in history. Do you think they waited for everyone to say, "You can do this"? Do you think they sought validation before launching their ideas, starting their businesses, or speaking their truths? Absolutely not. They acted before approval. They risked before validation. They stepped into their calling despite doubt, criticism, and uncertainty. And in doing so, they built momentum that no external approval could have provided. Momentum comes from action, not affirmation. Confidence comes from execution, not applause. Results come from persistence, not permission. Seeking validation before action also diminishes your sense of ownership. When you rely on others' approval, you begin to measure your success by their reactions rather than your effort. You start asking, do they like this? Do they approve? Will they accept this? And in the process, you dilute your vision, compromise your authenticity, and slow down the very progress that could lead to success. Validation can never replace the clarity that comes from knowing your purpose and moving in alignment with it. You must act because it is your calling, your responsibility, your opportunity, not because someone else approves. Fear of judgment often drives the need for validation. We want people to see us as capable, prepared, worthy. We want their affirmation before we risk embarrassment or failure. But here is the paradox: no one is going to wait for you to be perfect. No one is going to offer you a certificate of readiness. Life does not guarantee that others will understand your vision, support your journey, or cheer your steps. If you wait until everyone is on board, you will never move. You must act first. Approval may come later, or it may not come at all, but action ensures progress, and progress ensures growth. Taking action without validation builds self-trust. Every time you step forward on your own conviction, you are proving to yourself that your voice matters, your ideas matter, and your effort matters. You learn to rely on your own judgment, to trust your instincts, to affirm your value internally rather than externally. This is the foundation of true confidence, the kind of confidence that does not crumble when criticism comes, when doubt rises, when others fail to see your vision. Internal validation is more powerful than external approval because it is consistent, unwavering, rooted in your own understanding of purpose. Waiting for validation also delays learning. Action is the fastest teacher. Action is the laboratory where ideas are tested, skills are developed, and results are generated. Waiting for someone else's approval may keep you safe. It does not make you better. It does not sharpen your skills. It does not clarify your path. Every action, regardless of outcome, gives feedback. Every step forward teaches lessons. Every attempt, even if imperfect, builds experience. Validation cannot give you experience. It can only confirm what you already know. Experience and therefore growth comes from doing. Consider this: if you waited for validation before taking your first step, you would never have learned to walk. If you waited for approval before speaking your first word, you would never have communicated. If you waited for everyone to tell you it was safe to try, you would never have discovered capacity that already exists within you. Action precedes affirmation. Effort precedes applause. Progress precedes approval. And once you start moving, once you begin acting, once you dare to pursue your purpose, validation may follow, but even if it does not, your life advances. Stop seeking validation and start trusting yourself. Decide that your next step will not depend on anyone else's opinion. Decide that your potential is yours to claim. Decide that your calling is worth acting on, even if no one else understands it yet. Momentum will build when you act. Clarity will come when you move. Confidence will grow when you step into responsibility. And eventually the world will notice. Eventually, those who doubted will see what you were capable of all along. But even if they do not notice, even if they do not approve, the most important validation is the one that comes from within. Every time you delay action for validation, remember this: someone else's approval is optional. Your opportunity is not, your dreams are not, your calling is not. Life does not wait for consensus. Destiny does not pause for applause. Your purpose requires action, whether others agree with it or not. Those who succeed are not the ones who waited to be recognized. They are the ones who stepped into action despite doubt, criticism, and uncertainty. They acted because they understood the power of self-trust and the necessity of movement. Action creates clarity. Action builds confidence. Action produces results. Waiting for validation creates delay, doubt, and dependency. If you want to move forward, if you want to grow, if you want to realize your potential, you must act first. Do not ask for permission. Do not wait for approval. Do not postpone your life to meet someone else's expectations. Step boldly, act decisively, and trust yourself to handle the outcomes. Because the only validation that truly matters is the one that comes from proving to yourself that you are capable of more than fear, more than doubt, more than hesitation. Stop seeking validation before taking action. Stop looking outside yourself for permission to live, to lead, to create, to achieve. Step into your life with courage. Step into your dreams with determination. Step into your purpose with conviction. Move forward even when no one else believes. Move forward even when no one cheers. Move forward even when the world does not notice, because action creates momentum. Momentum creates results, and results prove to yourself what external validation never can, that your life, your choices, your potential are in your hands, and you alone hold the power to bring them to life. Responsibility is not a burden, it is power. Too many people see responsibility as pressure. They see it as a weight to carry, a chain around their necks, a demand that threatens to break them. They complain about obligations, assignments, leadership, family, and life itself, believing that taking responsibility will crush them. But the truth is, responsibility is not a punishment. Responsibility is a privilege. Responsibility is the gateway to influence, growth, and freedom. It is the mechanism by which your potential is unlocked, your character is shaped, and your life is transformed. When you accept responsibility, you claim ownership over your life. You stop blaming circumstances, other people, or fate for your situation. You stop living in the realm of excuses. You stop outsourcing your power to external forces. Responsibility says, I am not a victim. I am the author of my story. I am in control of my actions, my choices, and my destiny. That is empowerment. That is freedom. That is power. Responsibility is not pressure. It is authority. The person who embraces responsibility stands taller, thinks clearer, and moves with purpose, while the person who rejects responsibility shrinks, complains, and remains at the mercy of circumstance. Think about the people who have changed the world. Every great leader, every innovator, every entrepreneur, every visionary understood this principle. They did not see responsibility as a weight, they saw it as a lever. They understood that responsibility gives you the ability to influence outcomes, shape environments, and direct your future. The more you take responsibility, the more power you have to create, to lead, and to impact others. Responsibility is the tool that turns potential into reality, dreams into achievements, and vision into legacy. When you take ownership of your choices, you understand what is in your control and what is not. You stop wasting energy on complaining about what others are doing or what life has thrown at you. You focus on what you can do, what you can change, and what you can improve. Responsibility sharpens your mind. It trains your focus. It removes distraction. Pressure, on the other hand, comes from avoidance. Pressure is the result of passing responsibility to someone else, of leaving things undone, of pretending that circumstances are in charge instead of you. True power comes when you step into your role, take action, and assume responsibility for your life. It teaches discipline, integrity, and resilience. Forces you to rise to the occasion, even when it is uncomfortable. It demands accountability, self-reflection, and consistency. Pressure is what you feel when you avoid responsibility. Pressure is stress, worry, fear, and anxiety. But responsibility is the source of strength, courage, and wisdom. It transforms you. It reveals who you are when no one is watching. It stretches your capabilities and grows your potential. The person who embraces responsibility becomes a person others can trust, follow, and rely on. Person who runs from responsibility becomes a spectator in life, powerless to influence their own outcomes. Consider this: parent accepts responsibility for the growth, safety, and well-being of their child. At first, it may feel overwhelming. There are sleepless nights, worries, sacrifices. But that responsibility is not pressure, it is power. It gives the parent influence over the child's development. It gives them the ability to shape values, impart wisdom, and create a future that would not exist otherwise. Responsibility empowers them to act. It allows them to lead. It gives them authority in areas where others have none. Pressure is what the parent would feel if they ignored responsibility, leaving the child to chance, circumstance, or the influence of others. Responsibility transforms obligation into influence. When you accept responsibility for your life, your decisions, and your actions, you stop waiting for someone else to guide you. You stop waiting for permission. You stop seeking approval. You understand that the results you get are a reflection of your effort, your choices, and your discipline. As you see the results of your responsible actions, confidence grows. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to act decisively. You begin to move with courage, knowing that you have the power to shape outcomes. Responsibility does not create fear, it creates mastery. Another truth is that responsibility is linked directly to opportunity. The more responsibility you take, the more trust people place in you, and the more doors open. Responsibility is the currency of influence. The person who embraces it is seen as capable, reliable, and trustworthy. The person who shirks it is seen as careless, passive, and incapable. When you accept responsibility, you position yourself for growth, promotion, and advancement. You show the world that you can handle more, lead more, and achieve more. Responsibility is the bridge between potential and achievement. Pressure is only present when you avoid it, complain about it, or resist it. Responsibility teaches resilience. Life is not smooth, and no one escapes challenge. But when you take responsibility, you are prepared to face difficulties with intentionality. You know that problems are not excuses to give up. They are opportunities to act, adapt, and overcome. The person who feels pressure often focuses on blame, what went wrong, or who caused the problem. The person who embraces responsibility focuses on solutions, actions, and results. Responsibility does not overwhelm, it empowers. Pressure overwhelms because it comes from fear, avoidance, and a lack of ownership. Even in business or career, responsibility is power. A leader who takes responsibility for their team's success, their decisions, and their outcomes gains respect, influence, authority. A person who refuses responsibility, complains about circumstances, blames coworkers, and waits for direction. Responsibility allows you to shape the culture, create systems, and produce results. Pressure comes from avoidance, power comes from ownership. Every action you take responsibly compounds over time, multiplying your influence and impact. Responsibility also aligns you with purpose. The moment you accept responsibility for your life, you stop drifting. You stop blaming the world for your lack of results. You stop waiting for someone else to validate your dreams. You step in the role that life has given you. The role of leader in your own story, creator of your own destiny, and steward of your potential. And with that acceptance comes power, not pressure. You are no longer a passenger. You are the driver. You are no longer waiting for the world to decide your worth. You are deciding it for yourself. Responsibility gives you the ability to make choices that shape your future. Every decision you make as a responsible person has weight, impact, and meaning. Every step you take builds the life you want. Pressure only exists when you try to avoid these decisions, when you pass them to others, when you allow fear to dominate. Responsibility is freedom, the freedom to act, to lead, and to create. It is authority, the authority to influence outcomes and shape reality. It is power, the power to live intentionally, decisively, and purposefully. Finally, responsibility is liberating. It frees you from excuses, fear, and dependency. It liberates you to take ownership of your results, to move boldly, to claim the life you are capable of living. Pressure comes from avoidance, hesitation, and blame. Power comes from ownership, courage, and action. When you stop running from responsibility, when you stop resisting it, when you embrace it fully, you discover that it was never a burden. It was your ticket to influence, growth, and freedom. So today, claim your power. Accept your responsibility. Step into your role as the leader of your life, the creator of your results, and the architect of your destiny. Do not fear the weight of obligation. It is the weight that strengthens you. Do not confuse accountability with pressure. It is the source of your influence. Do not run from the duties you have been entrusted with. They are the keys to your growth, freedom, and impact. Responsibility gives you power, not pressure. When you embrace it fully, nothing can stop you from achieving your purpose and realizing your potential. This is the moment, right here, right now. Not tomorrow, not when the stars align, not when the fear fades, not when someone else gives you permission. This is the moment to decide and move forward. Life will not wait. Time will not pause. The clock does not stop ticking. The world does not stop turning. And destiny does not wait for hesitation. The decisions you make in this very moment will ripple across the rest of your life. Every great achievement, every breakthrough, every victory begins with a decision made boldly, deliberately, and in faith. And the most critical part of that decision is not thinking about it endlessly, not waiting for all conditions to be perfect, not consulting every voice around you. It is acting on it. Too many people delay their lives, their purpose, their dreams because they are waiting for clarity that only comes through action. They say, I'll start when I feel ready. Try when I'm more prepared. I'll move when others agree. And while they wait, life passes them by. Opportunities slip through their fingers. Time marches on. Potential sits untapped. The moment you delay is a moment lost. And the truth is, no one can make the decision for you. No one can take the step for you. No one can live your purpose for you. The responsibility is yours, and the power to act is yours. The moment to decide is here. Decision is the seed of transformation. Without decision, nothing changes. Without decision, the world remains the same. Without decision, the cycle of fear, doubt, and hesitation continues. You may have prayed. You may have planned. You may have researched. You may have waited for the right moment. But waiting without deciding is stagnation. Action without decision is random movement. True transformation begins when you make the choice to step forward, to move in the direction of your dreams, and to claim the life that has been waiting for you. This is the moment because moments are fleeting. The opportunity you see today may not exist tomorrow. The courage you feel now may not return. The resources you have may change. Life is a series of moments strung together, but the ones that matter most are the moments in which you choose. The choice to act is more important than the perfect plan, more important than the absence of fear, more important than the approval of others. History is shaped not by hesitation, but by those who dared to decide and move forward when everything inside them wanted to wait. The moment to decide is powerful because decision creates momentum. Every choice you make sets a chain reaction into motion. Every step you take, no matter how small, pushes you closer to your goal. Every act of courage breaks the paralysis of fear. Every moment you move forward teaches your mind, your body, and your spirit that you are capable. Momentum is not found in contemplation, it is found in action. Momentum is not found in waiting for clarity, it is found in walking boldly even when the path is unclear. Momentum is built the moment you decide, and then act without delay. Moving forward requires faith. You will not always see the full path. You will not always understand the outcome. You will not always know exactly how things will unfold. But you must act anyway. Faith is the bridge between the moment you decide and the results that will eventually follow. Faith is the courage to step into the unknown, trusting that your effort will bear fruit, that your persistence will create opportunity, and that your determination will bring breakthroughs. Every great achievement began with a step into uncertainty, and every step began with a decision to move forward. This is the moment because hesitation is the enemy of progress. Hesitation allows fear to grow louder, doubt to gain strength, and procrastination to take root. Hesitation convinces you that waiting is safer, that delay is wiser, that the perfect time will come. But the perfect time is an illusion. Life does not wait for perfection. Opportunities do not knock twice. The moment to act is never delayed until you feel completely ready. Readiness is forged in the act of moving forward. Confidence is built in the doing. Clarity emerges through action. And momentum begins when you stop hesitating and start stepping. Decision is not always easy. It is often uncomfortable. It challenges you to confront fear, uncertainty, and even opposition. But discomfort is a signal that growth is happening. Discomfort is proof that you are leaving behind the familiar and stepping into the arena of possibility. Every time you make a difficult decision, every time you choose courage over comfort, every time you act despite uncertainty, you expand your capacity to achieve. The moment you decide to move forward is the moment you claim ownership over your life. You may be waiting for validation, support, or permission. But let me tell you something, the only validation you need is the one that comes from within. The approval of others cannot replace the power of your own conviction. The affirmation of someone else cannot substitute for the momentum created by your action. The only way to truly move forward is to decide, act, and trust yourself to handle the consequences. Those who wait for external validation often remain stuck in the waiting room of life, watching as others move, grow, and succeed. Those who decide and act, seize the moment, create results, and shape their destiny. Decision also brings clarity. When you decide, you clarify your priorities, define your direction, and focus your energy. Indecision leaves you scattered, confused, and trapped in a cycle of doubt. Decision clears the path, provides purpose. It empowers you to act with intention. Every decision, no matter how small, strengthens your ability to take the next step. Every step forward, taken decisively, builds the confidence, resilience, and wisdom you need to continue moving toward your dreams. This is the moment because action compounds. Small steps taken today multiply over time. Every choice to move forward, every effort invested, every risk taken grows your capacity to succeed. The people who look back with pride are not the ones who waited for the perfect moment. They are the ones who acted in imperfect moments, persisted through challenges, and refused to let delay define their destiny. The life you want begins not with planning, not with wishing, with deciding and moving. So do not wait for tomorrow. Do not wait for clarity. Do not wait for everyone to agree. Do not wait for fear to disappear. This is the moment to decide and move forward. Decide to take control of your life. Decide to step into your purpose. Decide to act on your dreams. And then take the next step. Then take the next. Then keep moving one decisive action at a time. Momentum, progress, and breakthroughs are born from the courage to act in this moment. Your future will be defined not by your hesitation, but by your decisions. Your potential will be realized not by your planning, but by your action. Your destiny will be shaped not by fear, but by courage. The moment to decide is always now, because now is all we ever truly have. The time to act is always today, because today is the only moment in which change can occur. The power to move forward, the ability to overcome, opportunity to succeed reside in the decision you make in this very moment. This is the moment. Right now, decide, act, move forward. Step into your purpose, claim your life, trust your vision, trust your ability, trust the process. The next step you take is the one that will break the chains of hesitation, silence doubt, prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. Do not waste another second waiting. Do not let fear dictate your choices. Do not let the past hold you back. This is the moment to decide and move forward.